Before we begin, this story contains depictions of violence and dark themes that some listeners may find disturbing. It is intended for a mature audience. This is a work of fiction. All characters, events, and incidents are products of the author's imagination. Viewer discretion is advised. He left her in the alley, disgusted and filled with rage, as he failed to do what he had thought of doing there. That feeling is killing him from inside, but there's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing, and for the things worse, the ring kept laughing there, on and on. But there's something else that happened there. That woman, he did not check whether she died or not, he just assumed it. As she was lying there without any movement in her body, and after the things that those two have done to her, there's no way that she can still be alive. But that isn't the case there. As she was alive, a few moments after they were gone, she opened her eyes wide, had been breathing heavily, and had been crying with pain. Somehow, she managed to get herself on her feet there. Somehow, despite all the pain, she has managed to reach a nearby hospital. Seeing her in a situation like that, they admit her immediately and start her treatment, as they inform the police. In the police station, when the nurse called, the in charge was sitting there in his cabin, smoking marijuana, as a female officer was sitting there on her knees, giving him fellatio. He did not like it when the junior officer informed him about the call from the hospital. Hey, I told you not to disturb me at such a precious hour of mine, he said with laughter. His name is Abberline Clockmaker, the in charge of police for that area, and not a very bright bulb in the city, but somehow he manages to do his work. Maybe not always on time, or within the limits of law, but somehow he managed to do it. Sorry, sir, but there's a call from the hospital, he gasped. What is it? Are they running out of patients or what? A little pause between them. A woman has shown up at the hospital. She is in a rather critical condition. She is assaulted, raped, and might not survive for long. We have to rush, he gasped. Lost in his thought for a moment there, before he asked the girl, let's stop it for a moment now, and we'll continue with it after the visit. He reached the hospital, along with his people, met the nurse who called them. The nurse escorted him to her, explained the situation she was in, and showed him the rod that they found inside of her. Seeing her there, and realizing the amount of pain she has been through, his throat dried up. He tried to speak there, but he failed. He struggled until he had some water there. Will she survive? He questioned her. The chances are pretty low. She might not survive. She is unconscious, and if she didn't wake up in the next 24 hours, he understood what the doctor was saying there. How did she get here? Did someone bring her here, or she came on her own? She walked. He shook his head a little at this. Did she say something before she lost her consciousness? A nod from the doctor as she turned towards the nurse. Yes, said the nurse. I saw her when she entered and admitted her. I asked her who did this to her. She said, there were 3 people, 2 men and a boy. She is a prostitute. They paid for her service, took her to some alley. She couldn't say which one, but it was an alley. He sighed as he heard her. A prostitute? There's a whorehouse district nearby, isn't it? A nod from the nurse. There's still some time before the sun shows up, and having been looking around a little, Abberline noticed something there. At the entrance of the hospital, there were droplets of blood. And there were more than plenty of them, heading right towards the hospital. Seeing him there, he realized that they belonged to that woman. Having followed the drops of blood, he reached that alley. The place where she was murdered. He found the pool of blood. He wasn't alone there. No, rather his officers were there with him, had been there. He looked around a little, hoping to find something there that might be able to help them, but there's nothing much for him to find there, before he remembered something, and returned to the hospital. Was she missing any organs? He questioned the doctor, and no, all of her organs are intact. He tried to connect this murder with the others he knows about, which have happened recently, but failed to do so. And now what? Now there's nothing. Now he just waits for her to be awake, so maybe he might get some information from her. He returned to his station, and as the sun showed up, he went back to his house. Having slept throughout the day, he didn't wake up until someone showed up at his door, having been knocking on his door. He woke up from his sleep and was filled with rage. What? He cried out loud as he opened the door. There was a female officer at the door, and as he cried there, she was startled a bit. A brief pause was there between them, as he yawned, stared at her for a moment. Are you going to say anything, or just stand there like a statue? She gulped as she heard him. She died, she spoke after a little pause between them. That prostitute in the hospital, she died. He gasped as he heard that, lost in his thoughts for a moment there. Did she say anything before she died? The answer came quietly. No, he sighed, stared down at the floor, before he looked up from there, stared at her. Would you like to have a cup of coffee? He asked her. She seemed a little scared, but she shook her head a little. Sure, she replied to him, but the way she said it, it looked like she had been forced to say it. Good, now get in and make one for me too, he said to her as he grabbed her hand and pulled her inside, closing the door. He showed her where the kitchen is, as he himself went to freshen up, and she began with the coffee, being quiet. She did not say a word there, she just made coffee for him and for herself. They were sitting there in silence, sipping the coffee, lost in their thoughts. What do you think? Who would have killed her and why? He questioned her, as she sighed, took a moment there, before she answered him. From what I have known so far, and the number of cases I have worked on, in cases when a prostitute is murdered, it's either some angry client, whose specific request she rejected, or there could be the whole mafia. Whenever if a prostitute is trying to leave this work, the brothel owners or the syndicate of prostitutes, they had them murdered. A nod from Abberline. They have a syndicate. A little pause, as she shook her head a little there. They do, and do you know who is running it? She shook her head a little, as he sighed. He sat there in silence, lost in his thoughts, thinking about something there. Do you get to know about the name of that prostitute? She sighed, not yet, but as the records come, we will know it for sure. He shook his head. Is there any missing complaint about some woman, whose description matches her? No, she replied, there are no complaint, and I don't think so that there are going to be any. No one cares for these prostitutes, and if she is killed by the syndicate, there isn't going to be any. He sighed, being lost in his thoughts for a moment there. Abberline asked her that H would like to meet whoever is running the syndicate as soon as the medical report shows up and they get to know who she is. She was a little nervous about that request, not certain whether she would like to go and meet such a person, but the next day, as the report came, and they got to know who she was, without wasting a moment there, she took the file to him, woke him up in the middle of the day, again. Been having coffee with him, she gave him the file. Her name was Emma Buffy, she was in her late 40s, nothing much is there about her, just a couple of cases, nothing serious or anything that would want to make syndicate to kill her. He sighed, been going through the file. There has to be something, as if she wasn't at the target of the syndicate, then who would have killed her? Who were those three people? She sighed as she heard him. Maybe just psychos, she said to him, as he sighed. So, they just killed her for fun. A little pause, could be anything, but she has nothing big on her name. He sighed, looked right at her. Let's go to a whorehouse, he said to her, and she did not like that, but she has no other choice but to go along with him. You know the one who runs that brothel, don't you? A nod from her. I sure did, but I doubt that he is going to meet us. He laughed a little. Oh, he gasped. Don't you worry about it. He will meet us, he said to her. Soon they were there, moving from one spot to another. She was there in the uniform, but not him. He wasn't even on duty, he was just there. There's a mansion in that area, where the leader lives. They entered in there. That place was filled with prostitutes and men, who looked like that they have killed a dozen of people. Been asking around. They were headed to the place where the leader is. But as they are moving forward from there, people followed them. Men, you have your gun, don't you? He asked her, as she shook her head a little at this. Feel free to shoot them even if they touch you. She just shook her head a little at this. They continued to move forward from there until there came a moment when they were stopped, and those men, they were all around them, with their eyes pouring out. They were just staring at them, as their fists had been clenched right there. He laughed a little. What is it, fellas? Do you need something? He said it with a laugh, as he tried to make a way there, but they won't move from there. He laughed a little. I think you have mistaken us for someone else. Ha. He showed them his badge, but they won't buzz from there. He laughed a little there. Go back. Your kind isn't welcome. You got your monthly tip. Why are you here? He laughed a little at this, looked at her. I got my monthly tip, he said to her with laughter, before he turned towards him, now with a sort of seriousness on his face there. Well, you might be very disappointed to hear it, but no, I do not get my monthly tip, and that is what I am here for. Now leave the way and let me go and see your boss, or otherwise. He was quiet at it. Otherwise what? He had asked him, and Abberline just smiled at him, and within the blink of an eye, something had happened there. A gunshot had occurred, followed by a scream, as that man was now lying there on the ground, crying with pain, bleeding, with a hole at the side of his abdomen. Everyone who was there, they were in shock and filled with surprise, as they weren't expecting anything like that to happen there. They all were standing there in silence, staring at him. Filled with rage, she has taken her gun out too, and was ready if something else were to happen there, like them attacking.